At the time of this video's creation, Russian President Vladimir Putin's special military operation in Ukraine has persisted for nearly 2.5 years. What was initially expected to be a swift operation, culminating in the capture of Kyiv and the triumphant display of Russia's flag, has not materialized as planned. Instead, Ukraine has resisted the initial Russian advances and secured substantial support from Western nations, receiving ongoing military aid that has bogged Russia down in a protracted war of attrition. Putin faces the possibility of losing a war he thought would be easily won, and Russia's troubles extend beyond just the conflict in Ukraine. Even if Russia were to emerge victorious, it stands to lose significantly in other ways. To understand why, we need to examine the current state of the conflict and its broader implications for Russia as a geopolitical entity. Despite facing fierce resistance, Russia has made some territorial gains, such as taking control of the Donbass region, including the city of Donetsk, and capturing Mariupol and Melitopol. However, the situation in Kharkiv is revealing signs of a potential Russian loss. According to Al Jazeera, Russian and Ukrainian forces have reached a stalemate in Kharkiv, with recent Russian offensives failing to achieve their objectives. Ukrainian forces have recaptured areas like Vovchansk and Taik, highlighting the difficulties Russia faces. The prolonged nature of the conflict is exacerbated by the consistent military aid Ukraine receives from Western nations. In April 2024, the U.S. Congress approved an additional $61 billion in military aid to Ukraine, complementing substantial aid from European allies. Moreover, Ukraine secured long-term security agreements with Japan and the U.S. during the G7 summit in June 2024, further strengthening its position. The U.S. has committed to supporting Ukraine for at least a decade, and there are discussions about making aid from NATO members compulsory. This influx of aid suggests that the war will be dragged out further, decreasing the likelihood of a Russian victory. Putin's desperation is evident in Russia's attempts to forge alliances with less conventional partners, such as North Korea. Historian Sergei Radchenko views this alliance as a sign of desperation, pointing out that Russia's military failures have led it to seek support from a country considered a geopolitical pariah. This move could lead to more sanctions against both Russia and North Korea, further isolating Russia and potentially damaging its relationship with South Korea. One of Russia's significant challenges is a shortage of military equipment. Putin acknowledged in June 2023 that Russia faces shortages of precision-guided munitions, communications equipment, aircraft, and drones. Ukraine's Ministry of Finance reported substantial Russian losses in equipment, including tanks, artillery systems, armored vehicles, ships, and planes. Despite ramping up manufacturing, Russia struggles to replace its losses and has been forced to use outdated Soviet-era equipment. Although China is seen as a potential ally, it has been reluctant to fully support Russia. China's growing influence and economic importance make it cautious about being too closely associated with Russia, particularly given the threat of Western sanctions. Despite claims of covert assistance, China's involvement remains limited, and its influence over Russia is increasing, exacerbating Russia's economic and military problems. The war's economic impact on Russia is profound. The invasion has led to the departure of many Western corporations, a decline in manufacturing quality, and rising costs for Russian consumers. The war has caused significant economic strain, with inflation, a labor shortage, and the need for substantial funds for rebuilding if Russia wins. Even if Russia loses, it faces similar challenges, including the need to contribute to Ukraine's reconstruction and the ongoing impact of sanctions. In summary, whether Russia wins or loses in Ukraine, the country faces severe consequences. The war has led to equipment shortages, strained alliances, and significant economic damage. Putin's actions have not only jeopardized Russia's military objectives, but also its long-term geopolitical and economic stability.